What's going on, guys? Welcome back. We've got Ollie and myself, Mark. We've got a pretty exciting episode today. We've got some presents delivered to us, stuff we've been waiting a little while for. Pretty keen to get these on the car, pretty excited. The car's been running really well. We've been doing a heap of cruising with it. With the exhaust and cooler, it's been running really good. So I mean, we're pretty happy with how it's running at the moment, which is cool. It's just looking pretty plain, nothing special about it at the moment. So we've got a special delivery. I don't know, I'm not going to say to you, I'm just going to show you. Check this out. Well, it might be a little bit obvious from that video, but we got ourselves some rims. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to get or find a really good set of JDM rims that we're happy with yet, so we're going to keep looking. But in the meantime, we got these. So these are from the guys at DSpeed in Western Australia. These are probably the closest looking rim to what we sort of want to end up on the car with JDM wise. So both Ollie and I really like the VXXX. We're probably both of our favorite rims, absolute favorite Japanese rim, between that and like a Volk GTC or something like that. Ultimately on the 34 we want to end up with something like a really good dished or a good lipped VXXX. This is going to be our closest looking, or mesh style rim with a lip that we could find, and it just turns out, lucky us, they're actually really cheap as well. So
these things are fat as well.
They're fat. Look how I don't know if you can see that, but that is huge. So these rims specs are 18 by 9.5 on the front, 18 by 10.5 on the back, and they're plus 22 or plus 20. I'll double check that in a sec. But they do come with tires as well. These were cheap as chips, so these guys had a special on and we took advantage of that, and including shipping and wheels and tires, I think it was like 1,500 bucks or 1,600 bucks. It's real cheap. And these are, well, I hope they're as good as what I'm thinking they're going to be. We'll see in a minute. You guys are going to see with me. I'm either going to be really excited or really depressed. I think we'll be all right though. I think the car just needs some big tread on it. It's going to widen the car, make it look a lot more aggressive and stanced, which is what we've been waiting to do for the car as well, just to sort of carry the time over between getting the body kit and everything else sorted. I think these rims are going to make a massive difference. What do you reckon, man? Time to crack them open? I'm keen. I'm nervous and keen at the same time. All right, let's get these open.
These things are really packaged well as well.
Yeah, they're actually packaged. Oh, dude, they look sick. They're actually packaged really well too, so credit to the guys at DSpeed. Look at that, man.
Wow.
I wonder if that's a front or a rear. Where are we? 265s. It's pretty clean looking, man. Yeah. So again, very VXX feel to them. Definitely not a copy or anything like that. They're definitely their own rim, but definitely got that feel to it. I think they look really nice. Get all the plastic off, man. So these are running a 265 on the back and a 245 or a 235 on the front, I think. So have a look at the backs. They are a one-piece wheel. Dude, they look absolutely amazing. I mean, they're brand new. You'd hope they look really good, but yeah, I'm surprised how good they look.
The amount of dish is definitely a fair bit.
Yeah,
so.
we've got half a hand of dish, maybe a little bit more. Get your hand in there for the size wise. Yeah, it's a decent amount, I reckon, man. I think they're going to look really good. Oh, don't let them go anywhere. When you come and wheel it over near the car, we'll have a look. So these are going to be pretty out there with the offsets. I'm a little bit worried about how they're going to fit. You can see how wide they are. Sit that up against, roll that up. Dude, I think that's gonna look pretty bloody good, man.
Yeah.
I think that's gonna look good. So these wheels, like I said before, with the size and offset, these are 10.5s on the rear, plus 20 or plus 22. It's only 2mm difference, but it's one of those two. From everything I could research, they do fit over the back calipers. They do clear the back calipers, but the fronts, I think we're going to need to run a 5 or 8 mil spacer to clear the big Nissan front calipers. I've got a 5 mil spacer. Fingers crossed that we can fit that up and clear the caliper today and lower it down and check out what it's going to look like. I do also have a guard roller that I bought a couple of weeks ago. They're like $50 on eBay. I'll throw a link down below. The guard rollers, back in the day, people used to charge like 100, 150 bucks a corner to roll your guards, and you can buy your own guard roller for $50. So I'm all about learning. Ollie's pretty keen to learn how to roll the guards as well, just see if we can get a little bit of pump on the guards and roll that lip up as well to make these fit. They look sick, don't they? We got a little bit of stretch on the back. If anything, I'm probably going to guess that we're going to need to run like a 255 or a 245, maybe a 255 on this, just to get a little bit more stretch. But it's not bad. It looks pretty good. They're definitely fat.
Yeah.
All right, let's open up a front one, and then we'll probably go ahead and start fitting these up on the car, I reckon. Enough looking at them, let's get them on. You got to roll that out, I reckon. Spin it around so I can see. So these are the fronts, 9.5s. Still a respectable amount of dish on the front too, man. I'm surprised. It's not a huge amount, but it's definitely better than some of the front wheel drive offsets, that's for sure. But that looks really nice. That's a 235/40. 235/40 and a 265 on the back. It's big rubber, man. Big rubber. Come sit that up. Oof, dude, that looks pretty bloody good, man. All right, let's get these on. We'll get the car jacked up and get these old wheels off. I've got wiring hanging down. So I ran into an issue. It's a whole nother story I'll talk about later in the video, but I ran into a bit of an issue with the headlight swap that we did. So we went from the xenon headlights to the non-xenon headlights. They obviously draw a lot more current. We're running into fuse blowing issues, so I'm going to go into that a little bit later, but I've got some looms laid out on the floor which I'm sort of halfway through pinning out and getting all the wiring diagrams and everything. We'll fix that, but that's a later thing. These wheels are way more exciting. Let's get into it. Like I said before, we've got a good idea that we're probably going to need a spacer in the front just to clear those front calipers. So looking at the clearance in the back here, I don't know if you can see that very well, but there's not a whole lot of room between where that mounting surface is and those spokes. So we'll see how we go. We got some slip-on wheel spacers. I don't want to run out of thread, so we've got to check how much thread we've got with the wheel nut. There you go, and you can slide your feet out. It's falling on you. Cool, now I'll roll that out the way. So we've got these. These are like $30 or $25 slip-on wheel spacers. We need to run a wheel spacer. It's either going to be 5 or 8 mil. Hopefully it's only the 5. I bought the 5 to start with because I'd rather go less than more. I'll probably upgrade these to hub-centric spacers once I know the exact size we need. These are just cheapies to go for now, just to get a good size. Now, hopefully we're going to not run out of guard room, and we're not going to run out of wheel stud threads. So I need to check and make sure we've got, you know, a legitimate amount of wheel stud threads for the wheel nuts to go on. Oh, that's the other thing. We got some custom wheel nuts from GKtech as well. We'll go over that later. But let's try out these wheel spacers and these front wheels and see how we go. Just on the DL, I'm going to try and open these really carefully so that if I need to go 8 mil, I can take these back and swap them over maybe. See how we go. So these aren't hub centric, so definitely if you ever run a slip-on spacer, always run a hub centric. It'll keep that centered. There's probably absolutely no way to get that centered without doing that, but we're just running this as a test. We're going to change these out to a better quality hub centric once we know the exact size. So this is a big moment for brake caliper clearance. Pull 5. Oh. Dude, it's so close too, but technically it can't ever move.
That's like a millimeter.
Yeah, look at that, man. I don't know if you guys can see that. We'll see how they go once they're bolted up, see if that pulls in anymore. Dude, that's so close. Mexican wise, I feel like that's going to sit in the guard nicely. The other thing to note is we got tons of clearance on the inside as well. So we got heaps of room at the top control arm just up here, and heaps on the bottom as well. We'll make sure we go full lock to full lock and make sure we're not bumping into anything as well. The only other thing we might need to do, depending on what it's like, is probably pull these off. I don't know yet. We'll see how we go. GKtech are known to be pretty on the ball when it comes to this JDM stuff and even Euro stuff, but they've got some really, really nice wheel nuts that we saw. We got ourselves some neochrome wheel nuts off the GKtech website. They look crazy. I think it's going to be a nice little finish. There we go. Just roll it out. Nice and good. So we'll have more wheel stud on this one. So the other thing I just ran into is these are really, really deep sockets. They're a 17, whereas the other wheel nuts are a 21. But I don't have a socket deep enough to fit over this end lug, and the end lug looks sick. I really like that. So I'm gonna have to get a deep 17 socket to tighten these up properly. But we'll chuck these wheel nuts on. How good do they look sticking out? I like that look. We're definitely gonna need to roll the guards.
Yeah.
So a lot of people run 19s or 18s on 34s. I was torn. They only had the bronze spoke in the 19s, so, and I really wanted the gunmetal grey, and I didn't want to wait because that's just how I work. So I went the 18s, and I think the color wise it looks, I'm really happy with it. But you could definitely go 19s. I can see why people run 19s on 34s. They would fill out the guards quite nicely, I reckon. You guys, nothing. Brand new jack, definitely is a little bit touchy, that's for sure. How's it look? Let's go around and have a look.
It's definitely got some poke on it, that's for sure.
Yeah. I think some of that will go away when I roll it back and forward, because it's stuck on the tyres. When it rolls it'll settle. Yeah. Because it was definitely lower than that on the standard rims.
Yeah. So it's pretty good.
Alright guys, so we've got two major problems with these wheels so far. One is the front is using that 5mm spacer, like I've talked about, real close to the caliper. We've cleared it with the caliper, it's not a problem there. But I don't know if you can see in there. We've got like 2 or 3 threads on those wheel nuts, which is 100% not safe. So we needed to fix that by getting some extended wheel studs. Here's some I prepared earlier. GKtech. We went down to Sleeker Spares here in South Australia. Picked up some 20mm extended wheel studs. So they are OEM Nissan size. They're going to press into the hub. It's going to be a bit of a pain in the ass to fit, but that's alright. And then they should be the same thread. Yep, same thread as our other wheel nuts. So the idea with installing these is we're going to have that 2 centimeters of extra thread, which is, looking at that, going to be spot on for what we need as well. The other thing we went and bought is a deep 17mm socket, because these GKtech Neochrome wheel nuts now fit in there, whereas before they bottomed out. They just wouldn't go in and touch, so they should be mint. Now we got that in the toolkit. But our first issue today is going to be getting these on. It's going to be a pain in the bum. There's a bit of a process for fitting them. We don't have a press, unfortunately, so we've got a couple of other options. I've watched a few videos on some other people's ideas on the best way to fit these safely, because if you don't seat that back bit in the hub completely or fully, then when you do the wheel nuts up tight, they pull up tight and they can come loose, and then your wheel nuts will be loose. So we've got a few ways to do it. There is a tool that you can get, but again, we don't have time to do that. That's going to take a week to get here, and no one locally has that, unfortunately. Two things. We're going to need to trim just this excess little bit you can see flapping off in the distance there inside the wheel arch. It's unnecessary, it's not needed, and we can trim that off because it does hit that on full lock. And then the other thing is getting these in. Let's get this jacked up, get these wheel nuts and wheel studs on, and then hopefully we can get the car ready to go for a drive this weekend, because I do not want to sit here watching the car all weekend and not get to drive it. The other thing I probably should try and investigate while I'm down here is we do every now and then get a little bit of a clunk. I did buy some of these. We've got some rack bushes, Super Pro rack bushes. There's a part number for the R34. Because I did notice when I was under there last time that the bushes, the factory bushes around the rack were just a bit average, but looking here, these are a little bit average as well. There's some Bilsteins in there. Doesn't seem like there's too much play. We'll get this spacer off. So first thing we're going to need to do is probably turn the wheel. Turn it all the way to the direction of the car that we're on, or the side of the car we're on. Our pads don't look too bad. We do have some squealing from the front pads, so I think the person who put these in has put the wear tabs way too close, or bent the wear tabs in, or they're vice versa. So we'll check that out. It's going to be easier just to take the caliper and the disc off, I reckon. So we're going to undo this one and take that little split pin off there for the brake line, and we're going to lift the caliper off, put that aside, hang that up with some cable ties, take the disc off, and then we'll chuck a nut on the end of this, and then we'll start banging them through, and we should have a little bit of clearance just at the back here. I don't know if you can see that. We should have some clearance to pull those wheel studs out through the back. 22mm socket, fits perfect on there. So our caliper undone. Sit them aside. So I'm just sort of learning as I go with this one. Give you a look here. Those wheel studs, just press into there. Look at that extra length. Heaps of extra length, exactly what we need to, it's perfect. So the idea is we're going to chuck a sacrificial nut on the end of here from the old wheels, and there's a little provision here cut out. We should be able to bash them through. The main thing that I'm concerned about is seating these new nuts back into the hub correctly. So I'm going to make sure and pay special attention to making sure I seat them as well as possible, and making sure they're all the way in, and then nothing can work loose after that. I'm going to use one of the old nuts from the standard wheels, and it's probably going to stuff these, but if I just smash the end of the stud, it's going to widen the end of the stud, and there's a chance it won't fit out. Cool. That was a little bit easier. They've got little bumps in there so that they don't spin, and these ones obviously they locate into the hub and they squash a little bit and deform, but that's what they're meant to do. So hopefully that fits in. Once I've got all of these studs out, I'm going to sit these ones in. I'm going to put the disc back on, and I've got some washers that I'm going to sit around, and then I'm going to tighten this nut on, and that should sit right in the gap, and then that should, as I do that up, it pulls it in. Hopefully that pulls it in perfectly with the rattle gun. Got all those wheel studs you can see in there that it sort of deforms the hub as it goes into, so we'll try and line them up roughly with the new ones so we're not spreading out that damage. But the old ones there, we'll sit all these new ones in. We'll put a couple of these on to line these up. So I'm just putting these on to pull that disc up flat, so we know we've got a flat surface for them to pull up against. I'm using a socket where the stud fits straight through the middle of the socket, making sure that it's not touching the sides anywhere. And then I've got a flat surface here that pushes up nice and neatly above it, and it's a sacrificial washer, and I've got a couple to go through, but that wheel nut will press up against there and it just pulls it through quite neatly. So I'll do one here. We've done a practice one, make sure it all works nice and smoothly. So we get that located around to the right spot. And I guess the main key is to make sure that that is not touching any threads. Just quickly check it halfway. Looking pretty good. Make sure it's not touching any threads. Looks great. And basically, I'm just keep checking that that's pushing through and how far through it is. So it's still got a couple of millimeters to come through. I don't want to just keep reefing on the rattle gun, obviously, while I'm pulling that through. So make sure it's not doing any damage. That looks really, really good. It's definitely hot, that's for sure. All right, we're going to go through and do that with all of them, and we'll report back once we're done.
One eternity later.
So I don't know if you can see in here. We can see the studs poking through the back, and I'm just going through and making sure that all of those are seated. So that one's definitely seated, that's seated, that's 100% seated, and there's two here that I can see a slight little gap on. If they're not 100% seated and you go for a drive and you go around some roundabouts or some corners at a little bit of speed, the weight and the forces that the wheel would transfer into those wheel studs and would pull them through, and your wheel nuts would become loose, and then yeah, that would be an issue later. So we're going to go through and make sure they're all 100% seated, and then we can almost truck that wheel back on, I reckon. Next thing I'm going to do is blow out these calipers. I'm going to check the wear tabs on there. I think they're a little bit squeaky. That wheel's all done. Everything's torqued up. Calipers torqued up. Those little 12mm bolts are all done up tight and torqued up. So we should have no issues there. And 100% happy that all those studs are seated. Next thing we're going to do is bolt these wheels on. So these are 18 9.5, 690 kilos, plus 22. Plus 22. So I'm going to be getting some GKtech hub-centric spacers for this. This is just, this will do until we do that sort of thing. These wheel nuts, I'm so happy with these wheel nuts too. I don't know if you can see them close up or not, but they're like a neochrome. They look so good. We've got tons of wheel stud hanging out. So have a look at this. Look how much extra wheel stud. I don't know if you guys remember before. I'll try and chuck a comparison up. So they were like this, and now they're like this. So we've got so much more wheel stud to do these up on, all the way up. That makes me feel heaps better. We've got our deep 17. Get all these on loosely. Alright, I am dripping with sweat. It is so hot here today. I think we reached about 33 or 34 degrees Celsius. What's up guys, it's a new day. All the wheels and tires are all fitted to the car. Everything went really well. We got good clearance on the front calipers. We got a little bit of poke on the back, as you can see here. Apart from that, everything's worked out really well. We went for a bit of a cruise last night with Ollie. Well, we went for 2 cruises yesterday actually, because we've got beautiful weather here and it was a Saturday. We went for 1 cruise along the Esplanade and got some lunch just with myself and Ollie in the car, and a full tank of gas. And that's pretty much how the car sits at the moment, with a full tank of gas. So we got not bad clearance. We got just about a finger width of guard room on the back with the 265s, and obviously a little bit of poke as well. So I think what I'm going to do with this back is we're going to roll the guards today. We're going to eventually get some camber arms. Hopefully I can get the camber arms here this week and fit them up, and we can just get a little bit more camber on that back wheel and poke that tread or poke the tire inside the guard. So I think police wise, I mean, if it was up to me, that's perfect. I'd leave it like that and lip the guards out to suit. But I think we're going to be better off with the police around, just dialing a little bit of camber in the front and maybe the back if we can as well. So definitely the back. We'll play it by ear with the front. But I think today our goal is to pull at least the back off. So we went for a cruise last night with the whole family. We went and got sushi, and we had my little girl and my little boy in the back and the missus and myself in the front, and we did get some scrubbing. So I don't know if you can make out just on the edge of the tire there. It's just touching the tire on hard turns or if you go over a bump while you're turning, and I don't want that. So we're gonna lip these guards today. I've got a guard roller which I'll unpack with you in just a sec, and we're going to fold that lip up and we're gonna see if we can pump it out a little bit. There's a little bit of room in here. This strip's gonna be pretty stiff, and we're not going to be able to get heaps of movement without stuffing up the gap along the door. So we're probably going to roll sort of from here to here. Just looking at that, it's probably going to be here to here, yeah, roughly, give or take. Fold that lip up flat in there and see if we can push it out just a little bit. We'll definitely do the rears today. I'll see if I have enough time to do the fronts. The fronts aren't really scrubbing. There is one tiny little area when I turn left. I think the inner, I don't know if you can see in there, but the inner splash guard has like a little tear in it, which was there when I first got it. Just before full lock, just touches that, and that's the only bit. So I might try and see if I can fold that in, get the heat gun in there and push that in, and we can eliminate that. But apart from that, I think we're looking pretty good. I've never rolled a guard before in my life. I've watched a couple of YouTube videos, so I'm fully qualified. These guard rollers are 50 bucks on eBay or Amazon. I'll throw a link down below of where you can get one as well for 50 bucks, but they're super cheap. This particular one is from a wholesaling business in Sydney. There's a ton of ways, obviously, you can roll your guards. In the past, when I was younger, I did it with a baseball bat. Stick the bat in between the guard and the wheel and then roll the car forward, and the wooden bat just gently massages the lip upwards. But it can get stuck and it can look wavy, and it's just not as nice as doing it with a proper guard roller. I did have someone come out and roll one of my cars, one of my R32s, with a proper guard roller once, and it just came out a million times better. Obviously they knew what they're doing. I have no idea what I'm doing, but so it comes in the box. So we got a hub adapter. This basically bolts onto your hub and turns with the hub. Pretty straightforward and simple. Heaps of little attachments. We got this thing as well, which we're going to bolt together in a sec. But this is the bit that does all the heavy lifting and the guard rolling. This is like a nylon wheel, and that basically just rolls the inside and massages the inside of the guard up flat to give you more clearance. We're going to chuck all this together. We've got a heat gun as well. I'll show you a funny. So the heat gun is just a cheaper heat gun because I know I'll probably never use it ever again. But we got the heat gun from Bunnings. I think it was like $39 or something like that, cheap as. I had a quick look at the Bunnings reviews, and I'll show you a review here, but there's about 1,000 different reviews on the Bunnings website showing this heat gun absolutely melted or on fire, literally on fire like this one. This is hilarious. We'll be all right with this heat gun. We're not going to use it much, and I'll probably never use it ever again. There's no point spending big bucks on a heat gun if I'm not going to use it. Alright, that was a pain in the ass, I'm not going to lie, to put together. We got there eventually. We've got the car all jacked up. We are ready to start doing this guard. So I got the wheel off. Pretty straightforward. So this is our camber arm. This is the one we'll be replacing. It just goes around the shock absorber on the back, which are absolutely filthy. Might give them a clean later. I'm going to be folding this lip up here, so I don't know if you can see that lip. It's like a right angle in from the guard, just to give it a bit of strength. We're not going to lose any strength. We want to pump that out a little bit. So the only thing I can think of is I'm going to clean all along up in here, because I can feel heaps of stuff in there. And we don't want to be folding like any dirt or dust or crap or rocks up in that lip. Heaps of dirt. That's all clean up in there now. I can't feel anything at all with my fingers. So obviously you can picture us folding that flap up against the inner part of this skin, and if there was rocks or anything in there, that's going to leave a big imprint on the outside. So that's all beautiful and clean now. I'm going to get rid of that later because there's tons of crap in there. I'm surprised it hasn't come out when we've washed the car. That's like solid dirt. Wow. All right, we'll deal with that later. All right, we're going to bolt this up. We should be able to get that flat. We don't need to use the tapered part of the wheel nut, I reckon. We'll just use the flat bit. Bang that up. We'll probably use 3 wheel nuts if that's all right, mate. If you want to give me one more. So handbrake off.
Up.
Yep, pull it up, push the button in, let down. Easy. And now I need you to see the red button there? That little red button right there. So you need to hold that neutral. We've got the handbrake off. That gives us the ability for this to rear axle to move. That diff's nice and tight. Is it already on fire? It's cold at the moment. High quality heat gun, covered in plastic. Actually, it looks like it's changed since some of those reviews as well, because the plastic was touching the end. We might be right. Oh yeah, we got turbo and not turbo. We probably don't need a turbo. We'll go through, heat that guard up. So we're just heating that metal up, make it a bit more pliable. The paint's a bit softer so it doesn't crack straight away.
A few moments later.
So before my GoPro battery goes flat, unfortunately we get a little bit of cracking along the edge. I don't know if you can make that out in the video or not, but it's definitely doing its thing now. If I can get rid of the sun, which I can't, but you can see here the flat lip, and then it folds in and follows up the lip all the way. We've got that pretty much folded up all the way. I'm just going to press it up flat. I reckon it's about as far as we need to try and roll that up. It's pretty much pressed up on the inside. I don't want to go too far because I don't want to stuff up this body line here. So I don't know. I probably will put it back on and do a little bit more later, but I think for now, as the first pass, that'll do. Have a suss of all the dirt on the ground. That was all caught up in the inner guard. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but tons of dirt in it. It's crazy. So we'll pull this off. We'll chuck the wheel back on. We'll see how that fitment goes. I'd rather do not enough than too much and damage something more. I don't reckon we've necessarily put the guard out anymore. Maybe a little bit, but we've at least gained about 1 centimetre of inner guard room with that lip folding up, which should give us just enough room because it was only just touching on an outer edge. All right, let's give the other side a crack. all done and cleaned up, we're going to take this for a test drive and see if we've achieved anything. Hopefully, by looking at the guards, I reckon we have pumped them out a little bit. So see down there, if I try and look straight ahead, unfortunately we've got a little bit of cracking on the paint, but it's all going to get painted anyway, so it's no stress. I'm going to take it for a drive and do a little bit of hard cornering. We've got a couple of sort of long sweeping corners up here. Me and Ollie will just take it around the block and test it out and see if we've gained anything on the back end. Fingers crossed, because I really want to have the kids in the back and the missus and be able to go for a cruise without the tyres scrubbing. So I think we've achieved that, but let's take it for a test drive and check that out. You ready, dude?
Yep.
I reckon we should be all right with those guards. Yeah. We definitely gained a bit of room from what I can see, so it should be cool. Just close that garage.
It did look like one side was more pumped than the other.
Yeah. I don't know if maybe the camber's set up differently on each side or what the go is with that. We'll check that. It might have been on uneven ground as well, so yeah, we'll have a suss and see what it feels like. Car around the corner, you reckon? Every time. Nope, we're good. On a Sunday, we're good. Alright. So probably go up that big sweeping corner up here maybe, yeah, and see if that touches on the turn. I don't reckon I'll ever get bored of that soon, hey? So I'm not going to go as slow on the bumps. Straight away it feels like I reckon it would have rubbed yesterday.
Yeah. So here it rubbed yesterday. No rubbish?
Seems good. And we'll go this big sweeping corner up here.
Well, we did have the whole family in.
Yeah, we had the whole family in, didn't we? I swear that would have rubbed yesterday, yeah, going around there. I think it's so good. I think we've gained a bit of room. I think we've done good. We'll get the family in there later and go for a bit of a cruise along the beach, along the esplanade, and we'll see if it scrubs it all. I reckon we're going to be pretty good, man. I think we're all good. So we've definitely got a massive improvement on the guard room in the back. Unfortunately, we did have a little bit of cracking along the folded edge there. Ollie and I just went for a spin around the block, obviously, and gave it a bit of a test, wobble to wobble, side to side, and it seemed to be really good. So the test will be getting the family in the back later today, and we'll go for a spin later tonight and see how it goes with everybody in the back. Apart from that, everything's turned out really good with these wheels. Really happy with the wheels, man. They're pretty sick. Fitment, I mean, if I had a choice, I would probably go in about 1 centimeter of the offset, but that's sort of all we had to work with. Fronts are good. I'm about to order some GKtech rear camber arms for the back. From what I can tell, a lot better quality than some of the cheaper ones. There are Cusco ones as well, but they're crazy expensive, and ultimately you're getting the same adjustability. So we'll go the GKtech ones, nice stealthy black. They've got really good adjustment. I think -5 and +7 degrees of adjustment back and forward. So I think that should get us through. We're probably -3 at the moment, just lowering the car like it is. So a few extra degrees will definitely make a good difference. It'll be able to tuck the top of the tyre into the guard just a little bit. Apart from that, I think we're pretty good with those camber arms fitted. I'll probably get a wheel alignment. I do want to do rack bushes at the front and tie rod ends at the front as well, and we've got some steering rack bushes and a couple of other little bits and pieces that we want to fit to the car, but we'll chuck that in the next video. So we've got our board, pretty much done a fair slog of this. So we've done our Apexi intake, we've done our exhaust, we've done our JJR front dump pipe, we've done the Blitz intercooler, wheels, seats, no recolor, interior roof spoiler. So that's pretty much what we're done so far. So the next things on the list are definitely going to be tints. It is way hot in that car. We want some AC. We're going to do that in the next week or so as well. Probably end up ordering the roof spoiler and boot wing for the car as well. All the photos I see of these cars without a body kit completely look different with the roof spoiler and the back boot wing. So we'll get that on there again to tie us through until that GTR kit's all sorted. We're having heaps of problems at the moment with the GTR kit sourcing the front bar. So originally I was going to go the Carbonetics GTR/GTT front bar. There's a Z-Tune bar that they sell. GTR, exactly like a GTR bar, but it fits the GTT, and you just need to do their conversion bonnet as well. They do either a carbon or a fiberglass bonnet that fits the GTT bonnet latch and the rear brackets as well. But I'm hearing some horror stories. So like any business, if you go on their Google reviews, it's going to be a bunch of people that probably don't know what they're doing and they've done something wrong and then they blame the business, which is fair enough. I completely understand that. But there is a lot of bad news about their kits not fitting and just being really, really terrible. And I've had a lot of people DMing me saying, don't go the Carbonetics, don't go the Carbonetics. So I'm doing my own research. I know it's all hearsay. I don't know if they're bad. I don't personally know if they're bad. I'm only relaying what I've been told by other people that have used their kits and that have reached out to us. So I'm sure 99.9% of their stuff's good. Anything with body kits is always going to be tricky, especially when you're doing like a conversion where you're getting a GTR bar to fit a GTT and you got to do, it's full custom basically. But there were some real horror stories about the GTR front bar coming up here and just not even fitting with those headlights or anything like that, even though the GTR headlights and the GTT headlights are the same. We'll see what we're going to do about that. I really it's the worst nightmare to think of getting, spending $900 on the GTR conversion front bar and it getting here and then having to spend another $1,000 just to get it to fit. So I don't know what to do with that at the moment. JSAI do a pretty nice front bar, but it still retains the GTT bonnet. And that's kind of the bit that I don't like. Same with Ollie. When I say mainly Ollie's sort of giving me what he wants to do and what he wants the car to look like, and I'm pretty much agreeing with it as well because I feel pretty much the same. We really want the GTR bar and GTR bonnet on this car, but I'll see what I can do as far as sourcing something that's good quality and it's not going to be hard to fit or a problem to fit. I reckon we're on track. We're doing everything sort of working out pretty well at the moment. Looking good with the plates, the wheel nuts, the wheels. Just need that tint. We need some aircon so it's a bit nicer to cruise in, and we'll start getting all these other little bits and pieces fitted. We'll book it in for some paint as well once we've got that body kit, front bar and everything sorted. I think we're pretty much good for this episode, guys.